This week on Motor Week, a review of the current expanding VW range. Buy a Mazda Demio and save the planet. How the Saab 9.3 satisfies the jet fighter pilot in all of us. And Chris Goffey asks if the new Mercedes A-Class really is an automotive revolution.
For a few years now, Volkswagen has been aiming to have a range of cars that pleases just about everybody. They want to be considered in the same terms as Ford or General Motors. And the recent acquisition of Rolls-Royce by Volkswagen should expand that range even further. You know, there's probably a lot of exciting things to come, but it's hard to imagine why they need them when you look at a range that seems packed full already. This is the brand new Golf Cabriolet on sale now, but I'm sorry to have to tell you that although it may look like it, it isn't actually derived from the new Mark IV Golf. What VW have done is just kitted it all out in a new suit of clothes, so it looks like it belongs to the same family. Look, even the same sparkling four-circle headlights. Once you get inside the Cabriolet, it really doesn't look that different. The interior is much the same as in the old version. You get a nice choice of new jazzy upholstery and of course the VW steering wheel that we've seen in the Passat and also in the new Golf. But strip away all the suit of new clothes and you basically have three engines to choose from. Now this is a new addition to the Cabriolet range. It's a 100 brake horsepower 1.6 litre. What's this the front of? Surprisingly enough, it's the Chiran. Yes, the Chiran has become all updated and trendy. This is their new trim level. It's called the Sport, and it's aimed at the people who would have driven a Golf GTI and now have a family and need that bit more space. And the Chiran also has a new fifth engine option, very similar to the one found in the Golf or the Passat. It's a 1.8 litre 20-valve turbo unit. Volkswagen assure me, and I have no reason to doubt them, that it has 390 litres of baggage space. And that means absolutely nothing to me, but it sure looks like a lot. And one of Volkswagen's most recent success stories, the new Passat, hasn't been resting on its laurels either. This is the new 2.8 litre 30-valve V6, which comes with a synchro four-wheel drive transmission.
Yes, later in the year we've got the international presentation for a sub-polo size car called the Lupo. And then a mid-size saloon car, which will be somewhere between the Golf and the Passat a few weeks after. And both those vehicles will be at the Birmingham Motor Show.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting motor show, isn't it? What else will VW have on show?
Well,
then?
we've also got the new Beetle, which will be presented in Europe and again be at the Paris show and at the Birmingham show. And I think probably to make it the most interesting show ever for Volkswagen, we've also got a 12-cylinder sports car, which will be on display.
Is that the W12, of course?
The W12.
What are the plans for that? Are we going to see that become a production reality?
We heard at Geneva that Volkswagen intends to produce 300 of them. 100 will be open roadsters and 200 will be closed sports saloons.
So you've got your name down for one for a company car, have you?
I don't think I could afford one, but our managing director's ordered one.
What about the Beetle? I mean, it's one of the most talked about vehicles around at the moment. Everybody wants to see one, everybody wants to get in one. When will British drivers be able to expect them?
Yes, I think from the moment the car was unveiled at Detroit, Volkswagen realised that the impact the car was making. And of course the Americans want every car they can get, and the planned introduction is currently at the beginning of next year, but depending on availability that may slip a little. So we're still uncertain.
Okay, and how are the order books looking for that? Are there still places in it for people out there who might be interested?
Well, in the States they've stopped taking orders because they cannot guarantee when the order list was so long that they cannot guarantee when people will get cars. And in the UK we've told our dealers that we expect at the moment about 7,500 for next year, and they can work out for themselves that their allocation is not going to be that great. So our advice would be go to the dealer and they could give the customer some idea of how long they would have to wait for a car.
Yeah, and you mentioned Bora before, which I don't think you referred to necessarily by name. This is a replacement, isn't it, for, in a way, the Vento, for the Golf with a boot. Is it going to be another Golf with a boot, or is it going to be something very different?
It'll be more elaborate than that. It will be more of a Passat-style body, so the rear section will be different. It's not just a boot added on, the rear doors are different, the body structure's different. It looks more of a modern car, if you like. But the underpinnings of mechanicals and platform will come from the Golf.
If you're a Golf GTI fan who remembers the bad old days, the days when insurance companies used to laugh hysterically when you phoned up for a quote, then I have some good news for you. Insurance is down on the Golf Mark IV due to improvements in safety and security. This, for example, the new Golf GTI used to be a Group 14 insurance, now it's a Group 10E. That'll put a smile on your face.
When I first drove the A-Class prototype a couple of years ago in Stuttgart, German engineers were calling it revolutionary. But then engineers have applied the revolutionary label to their products ever since the dawn of the motor industry. So let's look back through the history books at those cars that really have changed the face of motoring. Henry Ford's Model T, the first car to be built on a moving production line and bringing mobility to America's masses. The Volkswagen Beetle, air-cooled, flat-four engine, rear-mounted, independent suspension, unitary body again when chassis were all the rage, and flat-out motoring for the German masses on their new autobahns. And from Italy came the problem. How do you get Mama, Papa and their children into the smallest possible and the most economical package? The answer there, Fiat's inimitable 500. And finally, Alex Issigonis's marvel, the Mini, drawn literally on the back of a fag packet, with its transverse engine and gearbox in the sump. Now for me, a seminal car, and I think one of the best looking shapes of all time, is the Citroën Traction Avant. Just consider a monocoque body with no chassis, independent front suspension, torsion bars all round. It's low, fast, sleek, excellent steering and road holding. And that in 1934. That's what I call a landmark. Will the A-Class be in that league? Are we seeing the start of a design revolution where all engines disappear under the floorboards and all chassis become sandwich construction? Personally, I don't think so. Engineers will only adopt this sort of layout if they can afford to charge Mercedes prices. I don't think it'll be a failure, but like the old Hillman Imp, it'll be a car that engineers admire but don't imitate.
This is the Saab 9.3, the latest evolution in the long-running Saab 900 series. It costs between £15,000 and £30,000. This is the Saab Griffin, a multi-role jet fighter. It costs between $15 and $20 million. The two are related. This is another of those evolutions we hear so much about. In other words, it's more than a set of new plastic trim stuck on an outdated product, but it's not quite an entirely new car. The old Saab 900 series has been around for thousands of years. Just think of some of those ancient beige or sandy coloured ones you still see happily trundling up and down the motorway full of beards and woolly pulleys. The things really do last forever. Some of those still bear dents and scars from collisions with asteroids when the Earth's atmosphere was still young. I can remember visiting a Saab dealership some years ago when some friend or other was taking their ailing Hulk in for a service. And while I was there, a customer came in, started proudly boasting about their 250,000-mile Saab. Nobody batted an eyelid, nobody even looked up. They all do that. The things go on forever. The poor dealer, I felt sorry for him really. It must be a bit like selling the everlasting light bulb. You flog people one and then hope that, well, they drop it and come back and buy another. There is something slightly odd about the 900 series though, and that's just how Saab like it. They've deliberately created a cult car out of what is really just a range of well-built family hatchbacks. They've become an enthusiast's car. They're big, powerful, quite fast, but somehow still affable and approachable. A bit like watching your favourite auntie slide behind the controls of a jet fighter. You wouldn't necessarily feel intimidated, but you'd sure as hell want to see what happened next. Potent, but not directly threatening. That's why old ladies and vegetarians can drive them. 900 series enthusiasts are as slightly offbeat and quirky as the cars themselves. In creating this, the 9.3, and that is 9.3, not 93, which is how many years it's expected to last, exterior changes have been limited to just a few light touches of makeup. There's a new grille with a wing-shaped centre profile, making an obvious reference to Saab's aeronautical heritage, and new bumpers at the front and rear, and a subtly changed tailgate, losing that rather ungainly concave profile at the bottom. You don't have to be naked in a sauna combing your beard or completely out of your tree to appreciate the slightly quirky Scandinavian appeal of the new Saab 9.3. It retains the oddball feel and nature of its predecessor, but is actually a practical and competent family hatchback or executive express, if you like, the sensible Swede, that does say a bit more about its owner than perhaps some other European Blandmobiles. As for what it does say, well, I can't be too sure, but to quote the well-known Swedish proverb, "Mange bleki smör, bläden söder ö," or many small streams have become a big river.
In part 2, Jeremy Taylor doesn't climb up trees, but plants the one that Mazda offer with every new Demio. Drive green after the break.
This is the Mazda Demio, and this is Sam from the Forest of Avon. The reason why she's here is because today we're going to plant 5 trees, because for every Mazda Demio that drives out of this showroom, Mazda will plant 5 trees to offset the carbon dioxide emissions from this little car. We've got 5 trees in the back, we're going to plant them here in this field just outside Bristol. Okay, let's just see what we've got in the boot. We've got a variety of trees, some are fast growing, some are slow going. Sam, if you can just tell us about the varieties we've got here.
Okay, well this is obviously just a few trees. Obviously we're going to plant a woodland, a whole community woodland here. We've got oak, which is very slow growing, and we've got some Guelder rose, which is fast growing. Within 5 years they'll all be towering above our heads, and within 10 to 15 years we'll have a woodland here.
And they'll be compensating for all those nasty emissions from this Mazda.
As they grow, they'll be soaking up carbon dioxide and releasing oxygen, as well as increasing England's woodland cover and attracting wildlife and all of the other great things that woodlands do.
Right, and this is one of the fields where Mazda trees will be planted.
It will be. Mazda
Right.
trees will be planted here and along the M32 corridor in Planting Against Pollution project.
Okay, let's do it.
Come on then.
Sam, this is a really nice spot overlooking the Severn. But I mean, you know, there's all that industry down there. And those so-and-sos, you know, kicking out all kinds of crap into the atmosphere. I mean, are these 5 trees going to make any difference?
Well, basically, we're not saying this is going to be a cure-all, this isn't a panacea, but it's a way to help. If everybody does a little bit, then it will make a difference. Mazda are leading the way. Mazda are one of the first car companies to actually decide that they are going to try to make a difference and offset some of their pollution.
Sure.
We're hoping that people will follow Mazda's example. The carbon dioxide released from a car in that year will be absorbed as those trees grow, because as you know, as trees grow, they absorb carbon dioxide, they give out, well, that turns it into something great, which is oxygen and wood. So it turns it into something really good. What we're saying is people recycle, people think about their energy use, and this is just something else people can do to tread a little bit more lightly on the earth. People will drive, people will use their cars, so just to offset the pollution they're using is to plant 5 trees. You can pull out more trees. We're trying to tree plant all the the time. England's got one of Europe's lowest percentage of tree cover, so the more trees that go in, we start increasing England's woodland cover.
So if you're driving around in a whopping great Bentley or a Jag or something like that, you need to plant more than 5 trees?
Well, yes, I mean we do carbon budgets. We've worked out for Mazda that 5 trees over a year will offset the carbon dioxide in 1 year.
Is that big trees or little trees?
Well, all of these trees here, you'll see as they grow, they'll grow, I mean the oak will live for a couple of 100 years and it will be continually absorbing the carbon dioxide in the whole time that it grows.
So when we finish Men and Motors COPs, we can be proud that we've contributed towards something that's going to be there for a long, long time.
Absolutely, it's going to be here for hundreds of years, it's going to attract wildlife, it's going to be a natural air conditioning system, somewhere good that people can cycle and walk and picnic.
Fantastic.
And the landscape's going to look great.
Right, this oak. The first Men and Motors tree going in. Oh, there goes some of the soil. Ah, fantastic.
Okay, so we want to make sure that where this tree is going to live, so we've got to make sure we plant it properly.
Okay.
So press it in nice and tight so we don't get any air in there.
So this is a motoring program, don't forget, but I mean we just thought, as you know, it's tied in with the Mazda, that we should give you some tips on how to plant trees, because of course it's vital if you're going to drive one of these cars. In fact, any car, you need to know how to plant. So Sam, carry on. Well, there we are. It looks pretty fantastic to me, our own little Men and Motors COPs. Does that mean that everyone in the country wants to buy a Mazda Demio has got to come down here?
Well, no, because what will happen is when they buy a Mazda Demio, we will actually plant and nurture 5 trees on their behalf. So, I mean, obviously we've planted the first 5 trees for Mazda, but we've got a number of sites all over the country in community forests. In Bristol we have this site. We also have a site running along the M32 corridor, which is a Planting Against Pollution project, and in the 12 other community forests in the UK. So we can plant and nurture the trees for people when they buy their Mazdas.
And you get your own little map, don't you, to show where your forest is?
Absolutely, and if people want to come and plant their own trees, then we're more than happy for them to do that because they can watch them grow over the years. We do have so many options and the opportunities are vast, so this is a small drop in the ocean and it's going to be a very exciting project.
Okay, we've talked about trees and how wonderful they are, and you might have thought we're not going to talk about the car, but you're wrong. Well, the first thing you notice about this Mazda is that it's actually a bit soggy to drive. Although the gearbox is sweet enough, I find that on the corners it tends to wallow quite a lot, and if you've got 5 people in, plus your 2 mountain bikes, it's going to be quite a handful for a little car. And there's masses of headroom, so if you're a relative of Frankenstein, you'll be fine in this car. There's loads and loads of vision. I mean, the glass area is incredible, apart from the enormous sunroof above us, which actually, although it's electric, it takes so long for the thing to open, you've got to keep your hand on the button for about 14 seconds. And what's really great about this car is there's lots of thought has gone into it. There's loads of space inside, and Mazda have tried to put it to the best use possible. What they've done is make the back seats slide backwards and forwards, so that if you want more passenger legroom space in the rear, you slide the seat back. If you want more boot space, you slide it forward. Brilliant thinking. Unfortunately, that thinking doesn't actually go into the dashboard area, especially with the stereo, which is right down underneath the ventilation controls. You've really got to reach forward to find it. And there's a few other problems as well. The seat cloth is absolutely gross. You wouldn't allow this into your living room, so why would you allow it in your car? Now, Mazda have had this car on sale for 2 years in Japan already, and that means they've had plenty of time to iron out the problems. So come on Mazda, let's have a look at this dashboard and let's have a look at this seat cloth. It's horrible. The Mazda can be quite nippy, but you really have to wind it up. In fact, we're talking about redlining it to get any kind of performance. It hits 60 in about 30 seconds and it'll go on to just under 100 miles an hour. The 1.3 engine has got 16 valves and, well, it's quite peppy, as I say. The fuel economy around 35 miles per gallon overall. It's not the sort of car that you're really going to want to throw around the corners, but then again, it's not the sort of car you'd buy if you want to do that. Having said that, the engine is responsive enough and the gearbox is really sweet. I can imagine driving this car for quite a few hundred miles, fully laden with the bikes, the tent, well, the kids if I had any, and anything else I'd want to bung in it. Okay, this is what Mazda call bike carrying mode. Now what they claim is that you can get 2 fully assembled mountain bikes in the back of the Demio. It's probably true, but it demands quite a lot of work. So just have a look at this. This is quite a clever little device for hiding the safety belts. Nice. Is that going to last a lifetime? We'll have to wait and see. And then moving through here, these are the back seats which drop forward. See? Fantastic. There's only one problem with all this, and that's if you're going to do that, you're going to end up with all this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, and by the way, there's your parcel shelf as well. All I need now is one more item and I can win a crackerjack pencil. So you've been cycling all day, you've got your Mazda Demio, you don't want to have to pitch the tent. So all you have to do is turn it into bed mode. And it's as simple as this. Pull that, pull this, and this. You still with me? You've got to keep going because it's not as easy as it looks. That goes down, and then I've got to come around to the front seats. Once you get around to here, there's only two things left. It's recline that seat, recline this. See you in the morning. Tops. Nice spoiler. Not quite sure why you need it on this car, unless of course it's somewhere to carry your extra luggage. Moving further along, we've got these very handy roof bars. They do actually look quite smart. Bit four-wheel drive for a Mazda Demio though. And just to round it all off, how about this? Your very own fake bull bar. Legal, and hey, I suppose it looks quite pretty, doesn't it? But I'm pleased to say, it's not all bad. Because for £10,500 you're getting quite a lot of car for your money. To start with, it's got 4 electric windows. One of them is an automatic as well. Got a driver's airbag, height adjustable seat. Sadly no height adjustable steering to go with it. And this rather snazzy electric sunroof, which is huge. The only problem is, it takes about 14 seconds to open, and that means 14 seconds where your left hand isn't going to be on the wheel. What a shame they didn't put the automatic window option on the sunroof as well. So there it is then, the Mazda Demio, a mini MPV for the 90s if you like. And we take our hats off to you, Mazda, because the tree planting idea to balance out the carbon dioxide emissions is a really good one, and it's an initiative which we hope other manufacturers will follow. But once you've planted your trees and you've got your map, what you're left with is a little car, and it doesn't really match up to the standard of being all things to all men. It's got some nice touches, the reclining seats, the headroom, and the economy is exceptional. But really at the end of the day, we're not sure whether Mazda can actually see the wood for the trees.